Beating the Heat 116-108 yesterday, and that evens up their series at 2 games apiece. After the game, Harden told reporters that his team is, quote, getting more confident as the series goes on. Shannon, what do you think here? We talked about James Harden being washed. Has he turned back into himself now?
No, I'm not willing to go that far, Skip. This is only a second 30-point game since he's joined Philly. And we've seen far too many games the other way as opposed to this game. He played great last night. There's no taking that away from him, 16 points in the fourth quarter. But I haven't nearly seen enough of this to say James Harden has returned. I think Skip, in game 3, he was 4 of 11, 1 for 7 from 3 with 17 points. We've seen more performances like that than what we saw last night. I just think the thing is, with Joel Embiid back, he makes everybody's job. Skip, now all of a sudden Danny Green can't miss from 3. And you lived it when he was with San Antonio. He'll go a game or two, and he'll go 8 for 12 or 12 for 20 from 3. And then the next 3 games, he'll go 1 for 17.
I used to call him Danny Green Light because when he's green light, man, woo.
The other night, he was, 7 of 8, 7 of 9, 21 points. Last night, he was 3 of 4 from the 3, 11 points.
Yep.
They got great production from everybody. James Harden had 31. Tyrese Maxey had 18. Joel Embiid didn't 7 of 13, but he was 9 of 13 from the free throw line.
Yep.
They got great production from a lot of people. And they were 16 to 33 from the the three-point line. Miami just can't buy a 3 right now. I thought that, okay, if Joel Embiid plays, it's going to go at least 6. At the bare minimum, it's going 6. We know it's going to go 6 games now. It might be a 7-game series,
It just might.
Because when you look at Miami, Skip, they're a small team. And if they're not making threes, it's going to be very, very difficult on them because they don't have an answer for Joel. I mean, they try to zone. They're doing a great job of moving the ball around the perimeter. They go inside, kick it outside, and guys are making threes right now. This series got very, very interesting. And as James Harden said, we're gaining confidence and confidence. You gain confidence because that big guy in the middle came back. The guy that's wearing that mask, he came back.
That is correct.
This series is over. If Joel Embiid does not come back for game 3 and 4, this is a sweep.
Okay, here's my takeaway from both of these games. What team through the regular season led all of the NBA in three-point shooting and three-point defense? What team? Aha! It was the Miami Heat. They need to change their nickname now in this series because there's no heat. They're the Miami Snow or Cold or whatever you want to call them.
7 of 35 yesterday.
7 of 35, and in game 3 on Friday night, they were 7 of 30. So 7 of 30, 7 of 35. That's 14 to 65. That's 22% three-point shooting for games 3 and 4. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, guess what Philly was doing? Philly made 16 of 33 thanks to Danny Green on Friday night, and then 16 of 32 thanks to James Harden last night. That's 32 of 66. That's 48%. So one team, the home team, shoots 48% from 3. The road team shoots 22% when the road team lived and occasionally died from the three-point line. There's this guy sitting on the Miami bench right now named Duncan Robinson, to whom they gave like $72 million,
18
right?
a year, yeah.
Okay. He is completely doghoused right now by Eric Spoelstra, probably because he can be a liability on the defensive end.
But you knew that when he was a marksman. He opens up the court.
He is one of the all-time marksmen because you want to talk about catch and shoot. It's just like, it's just like the ball barely touches his hands and it's gone. And he was a reason they stayed afloat against your Lakers in the bubble in the finals, right?
Yes.
Because some nights he just gets like unconscious where it's almost like, well, that's just automatic.
Right.
He can be 27 feet out, and if it touches his hands, it's swishing.
Yeah.
Well, do you try him? Now you've put him on the hot seat where if you throw him into the starting lineup or you give him high minutes, he's going to feel a lot of pressure to make some threes.
Well, Skip, I've got to play him.
You got to.
But here's the reason why the Miami Heat are struggling defending the 3 is because I got to send help with Joel Embiid. And so the moment you send help, he's finding the open guy, and guys are getting wide open looks. They try to zone, but if the ball ever goes into Joel Embiid, Skip, sometimes Joel Embiid is finding himself matched up on Jimmy Butler. He's finding himself matched up on P.J. Tucker. Well, that's barbecue chicken. Yeah, that's a 10-piece. Easy. Easy pickings, easy licking. And so now It's one thing, Skip, to have those open looks. It's something entirely different to knock him down. They've knocked him down the last 2 games. So what does Miami do? Does Miami say, man, we got to overreact? Because if you overreact and says, well, okay, we're going to play this thing straight up, Joel Embiid is going to put 40 and 20 on you.
He will. I would agree. Okay, so they missed 28 threes last night to the Miami Heat. I'm going to say that 20 of them qualified into my eye test as open looks, and maybe 15 of them were what I would call wide open looks.
Yes.
Where they're just like there'll be a long rebound out, and all of a sudden it's Gabe Vincent or somebody. They're just like wide open, or even Tyler Hero. I'm wide open, and it doesn't even come close. Well, now you're just snake bitten, and now you lived by the 3-point shot. And I got to tell you, in the end, most of these NBA playoff games are 3-point shooting contests. They just are. In the very end, are you going to make 15 or 20? Because if you do, you're probably going to win the game.
That's why no lead is safe.
Okay? No lead is safe.
Skip ain't nobody. You wasn't coming back. Back in the 90s, you got a team down by 26. Skip, they weren't coming back. You get a team down by 26, 20 points now, and within 5 minutes, they've cut that thing all the way down to 6 or 8.
Okay, back to James Harden. I do not trust him going forward because his playoff legacy, his playoff history is cannot trust in the biggest moments. Okay, so what did we see from him last night in the fourth quarter? We saw him make 4 threes, which weren't threatened by the scoreboard.
Right.
You know, they were front-running threes.
Yeah.
And if we could see them, he's making every one of them at the clock. And this is LeBron's favorite shot, is at the clock, there's no decision to be made. You just go up and shoot it, and you can shoot it with a little more conviction at the clock. Now, this one's on the run. That was the first one on sort of a semi-break. And that sort of set him off, and it's like, okay, I got this. This one's at the clock. That was with 1 second left.
Right.
And here he goes again, and Maxey kicks it, and that's near the clock. It's 2 seconds left, and he nails that. And then here we go again. And the clock is winding down. He says, well, I guess I have to shoot this. He wanted the foul, didn't get it. But those are 4. And guess what those 4 did? Put them up 12, up 10, up 8, and up 11.
Right.
So it's not like the lead had been cut to 2,
right,
and you have to make one to stem the tide.
Right.
He did it front-running style. And it was sensational to watch only because we've come to believe
we hadn't seen it.
Like he's washed.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's unwashed right before your very eyes. And it was a blast from the distant past, but a rare blast from the distant past.
Yeah, we watched him yesterday, Skip, make more step-back threes than probably he had made at any point in time in the last month. And so for me to sit here and say, oh, yeah, James Harden has arrived, and this is the James Harden we're going to see, I don't believe that, because I've seen more of the old James Harden that was giving you 17 points or giving you 15 points on 4 of 13 shooting than this guy that gave you 31 yesterday.
Okay, so I picked the Heat to win it all. I wasn't sure what was going to happen with Joel Embiid and his various injuries and availability.
Right.
And all of a sudden, when he came back Friday night, to your point, his mere presence on the court changed everything.
It did.
And yesterday, he started to look dominant, where he was getting comfortable with that mask on.
Yeah.
And right now, Joel Embiid is the best player on the floor.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's the best player.
Yeah, not even close.
And you agree with that, but you're not going to agree with what I'm about to say. So they just announced, predictably, Jokic won the MVP.
Oh, they announced that?
Okay, well, you knew that was happening.
I know that. I was trying to tell you, not give me my cases, too.
Well, there was no cases.
Yeah, there were cases. We
don't
do this.
You do revisionist history. There were no cases on that because you already knew that was going to happen. Everybody knew that was going to happen just on statistics alone. But this is just me. That guy I'm seeing, that 7-foot monster, 7'2" monster, whatever he is, Joel Embiid, he's having such an impact on this game. I think he is in position to remake his case as the best player on the planet. Giannis was very good the other night.
Saturday.
Sort of Saturday afternoon here. Yeah. Was it Saturday night there? I guess
it was Saturday afternoon for us.
Okay, Saturday night. Okay. But the point was, he's 2 of 12 in that series from 3. He's not shooting the 3 ball like Joel can shoot the 3 ball.
Ain't nobody expected. Okay. Skip, look, we know Giannis can have a game where he'll go 5 of 8 for 3. Mm-hmm. But that's really not his specialty. You know what his specialty is. And we're going to talk about it a little. You can put the Berlin Wall, the Great Wall of China. When Giannis Antetokounmpo says, I'm going to the hole, either either he runs you over and you get the charge, or he's going to the hole.
Yep, that's what he does.
It's as simple as Skip.
That's what he does.
That's it.
I still say Joel can beat you more ways and do that.
Right.
Joel can block shots and dominate on defense. Poor Markieff Morris got in the game late, and Joel just made him eat one. It was terrible. It's like, what are you doing to this poor
He tried to shoot a fall away, and Joel was already in his hip pocket. Where you thought that was going to go?
Then he retrieves the ball and turns it right over.
Yeah.
It didn't look good. I'd rather see Duncan Robinson in the game than that.
But here's the thing, Skip. Of all the teams that's tied, where there's only two, the Mavericks and this team, I think the Heat are in more trouble than the Phoenix Suns when it comes. Because the Phoenix Suns, look, Book, and we know Chris Paul is not going to play this bad again, but they still don't have an answer for Joel Embiid.
They do not. So he is positioned to make a statement. Obviously, at Miami, this is the statement game for Joel, where he could announce or re-announce his presence at the top of the list.
Yes.
And I fear him, having picked Miami, because I love Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
I just didn't know he was going to be able to bounce back this quickly.
Well, I didn't think they was going to go with Joel Embiid, but I thought it would be a long series. I thought it would be a 6 or 7 game series. And once Joel Embiid had their injury, Skip, I was like, well, they done. They cooked. Ain't no way they winning this series without Joel Embiid. Now that he's back,